All right, let's talk about the power of touch. Today we're going to dive into a foundational technique in sex therapy called Sensate Focus. And our guide for this is a really incredible book, Sensate Focus in Sex Therapy, the Illustrated Manual. Now, this book was written for a very specific reason, to finally clear up decades of confusion around this simple yet truly profound idea.
And that brings us to a really fascinating paradox. I mean, Sensate Focus has been a go-to tool for therapists for half a century now. So why is it still so often misunderstood and misapplied? That's the core question we're really going to explore.
You see, the confusion around Sensate Focus is really deep-seated. It's one of the most powerful tools out there for resolving sexual concerns, but it's got this reputation for being, I don't know, complicated or mysterious. But here's the twist. The problem isn't its complexity at all. It's actually the complete opposite.
First off, let's just take a moment to appreciate how important this technique really is. It was developed by the pioneering researchers Masters and Johnson way back in 1970. And these structured touching exercises, they became a cornerstone of modern sex therapy. For almost 50 years, clinicians have been using this to help countless people.
And this quote from Dr. Bernard Afflebaum, wow, it just gets right to the heart of the problem. He says that the technique's deceptive simplicity is the source of all the trouble. Because it seems so basic, so straightforward, people totally underestimate its profound power. And that, as he puts it, is a crucial misunderstanding.
So, this widespread confusion is exactly why the authors, Linda Weiner and Constance Avery Clark, created their illustrated manual. They saw that, even after all these decades, this foundational technique desperately needed a clear modern guide. So they laid out a really clear two-part mission. First, to finally create a detailed guide that clarifies both the theory and the practical hands-on steps of Sensate Focus, which, believe it or not, had never really existed before. And second, to use this as a chance to shine a spotlight back on treating the whole person in therapy.
Okay, so what is Sensate Focus really? Let's try and strip away all that confusion and just get to a clear, straightforward definition right from the author's work.
At its core, Sensate Focus is basically a set of structured, touching suggestions. The goal here isn't performance. It's not about achieving some specific outcome. No. Instead, it's all about reducing that performance anxiety and shifting the focus back to the simple, direct experience of physical sensations. You know, what you're actually feeling, from one moment to the next.
Now, here's a super important clarification from the manual. There are two totally distinct phases. The best way to think about it is like learning an instrument. Sensate Focus 1 is about mastering the basics, learning the notes, the chords, so you can resolve specific difficulties. It's only then that you move to Sensate Focus 2, which is kind of like learning to improvise and create beautiful music. That's all about enhancing intimacy and cultivating truly optimal experiences.
Okay, so let's get to the author's second mission, which is just as important as the first. And that's shining the spotlight back on the whole person. They felt that the field was getting a little too focused on just one piece of a much bigger puzzle.
Specifically, what they're arguing against is an overemphasis on a purely biological view of sex. This kind of narrow focus, they believe, just misses the entire picture. So their manual makes the case for a much more integrated approach. One that remembers we are so much more than just our bodies.
This is all about integrating everything, the psychological stuff, our relationships, our culture, and even the spiritual aspects of our lives, right alongside the biological. It's about reframing sexuality as this rich, complex part of the entire human experience, not just some mechanical function.
So why does all of this matter? I mean, why write a whole detailed manual and push for this integrated approach? Well, it all comes back to a really human goal. Just making it easier for people to get the help they need.
You know, the ultimate hope behind this manual is that by pulling back the curtain and demystifying a core therapeutic process like Sensate Focus, it'll lessen the fear and discomfort that so often stops people from even thinking about seeking help. It's all about making therapy feel more approachable and understandable for everybody.
Which really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. If a technique that seems as simple as just refocusing on touch can be this powerful in therapy, what does that tell us about our own everyday lives? What can we all learn from this about the fundamental nature of human connection?